Hi guys! In this video I'll be recapping Before the 90 Days and the new couples for Season 8 that I didn't cover in my previous video. If you haven't yet, please be sure to see that video, where I covered the other two couples this season, Rick and Trisha and Emma and Zaid. You can find a link to that video up above, and in my playlist for Season 8 of Before the 90 Days. If you enjoy recaps of reality shows like 90 Day Fiancé and Love is Blind, please like, comment, and subscribe, and check out my other videos and playlists. We'll start with Forrest, who's 32 from Oregon. His segment starts with shots of numerous security cameras around his home, as well as him being viewed by the cameras, and even a creepy shot of someone watching him. As he cooks breakfast, his girlfriend Sheena talks through the camera, telling him not to burn his eggs like the last time. He shows her his meal for her approval, and says he'll call her after he's done. He says he set up his place as a smart home, and has sensors for everything and security cameras that Sheena has access to 24/7. He says a lot of people would be bothered by this level of scrutiny, but he likes it, and says what if he fell over and no one was there? In his confessional, he says Sheena's one of the few people who took the effort to get to know him. She lives in the Philippines, and they've been dating for 7 years, but haven't met in person. He says he lives on Filipino time because he wants to spend as much time with her as possible. He talks about how at 4 a.m. he says goodnight to her and puts blackout curtains up, and then sleeps until 3 or 4 when she's up again. Why wouldn't he just put the curtains up and leave them up, and then pull them open as needed? He has a bunch of stuffed animals on his bed, and says over time he's collected the bears for Sheena, and that the big panda represents her, and some of the smaller bears represent the kids they want to have. Then he asks his Amazon device to start Schmexy mode, and it turns on some red lights and funky music, which he does a brief dance to. He says at first having schmexy moments on camera was awkward, but now he loves it. He says she's the woman for him, but he doesn't want it to be virtual forever. After 7 years, he's finally saved enough money to visit her in the Philippines, and says he's leaving in a few days. But he adds that he's not going alone. And then we meet his mom, Molly. In his confessional, he says his mom and stepdad are coming with him. He's a little worried because his mom is very opinionated, and says whatever's on her mind. They get in a car, and he asks where they're going. She asks if he remembers where she took him when he turned 18. He's like, "Mom?" She says, "Yep, we're going to the Schmex shop." She tells him it's been 7 years, and he needs to get Sheena something nice. In their joint confessional, she says when he turned 18, she and her husband found out Forrest had been getting into their collection of magazines and videos, and Forrest looks mortified. She says she told him if he has an interest in that, she'll take him to get them, but he has to stay out of her stuff. As they're driving, his mom says she can't wait to get there, and it's truly an awkward scene for the viewer. He says maybe he can get Sheena a negligee. His mom suggests he could also get a thong, and he tells her how he might drive off the road if he thinks of that, and I wish they would stop. In his interview, he says a lot of people would feel weird about going to a Schmex shop with their mom, but his mom is his best friend, and if it weren't for her, he wouldn't have met Sheena in the first place. He says he has autism and ADHD, and it can be hard to relate to people, and that 7 years ago he was going through a hard time, and his mom added him to a social media group. After he joined, within a minute Sheena contacted him, and they fell in love. He says he's nervous but excited about meeting her in person. His mom tells him to take his time, and that once they meet, it could be different from what he expects. In her interview, she says she puts on a happy face for him. She's never seen him happier, and says she doesn't want him to lose that, but she doesn't trust Sheena, and worries he'll get taken advantage of. When they arrive, the clerk asks what they want, and his mom explains how he has a girlfriend in the Philippines. The clerk asks what Forrest thinks between the options, and he says he's hoping his mom can help. His mom says, "That's what mom's for," and the clerk does a great job of hiding her shock and dismay. In his interview, he says he's never had schmex before, and he hasn't even kissed a woman except his mom and grandma. He says Sheena's never had schmex either, and they plan to have their first experience on his trip. The clerk gives them some alone time for a plot update. His mom says she and his stepdad will be there to support him on the trip, but that his stepdad has the same concerns as her. She says she wants him to be happy, but there's something weird going on with her parents. She says Sheena's been dishonest with him, and she worries she's a scammer. In her interview, she says she initially trusted Sheena, but then she saw things that made her question that. She says Sheena had a bank account with money that was supposed to be saved for her and Forrest, so they could start their lives together. But years later, she told him her parents took the money out and basically stole it. She says he told her to create her own account, and 4 years later her parents did the same thing to that account, and it seems suspicious. In his confessional, he says he trusts Sheena 100%, and when she told him about the money, he wasn't upset with her as much as with her parents, who he thinks are scammers. He tells his mom he might stay in the Philippines longer than planned. He explains if he does that, he can get the visa process further along, and she can get away from her parents. She tells him no, this isn't the path for him, and that her parents will have him under their thumb, and he'll be across the world from her, and she can't protect him. In his interview, he says his mom doesn't have control over him, and he'll do what's necessary to rescue Sheena. In his mom's confessional, she says he wants to be independent, but the last time he was left to his own devices, he was scammed by a girl in Indonesia who took all his money. He went to see her by himself that time, and that's the main reason she wants to travel with him, since he can be taken advantage of. He says he'll see how things are once they get there, and then decide if he'll stay longer. They played this creepy music at the beginning of their segment, implying that Sheena's overstepping with the cameras, and the details about her parents taking money out of their joint account twice is alarming. But of course, it's hard to know her situation for sure without meeting her and hearing her side of things. She definitely sounds sketchy, but TLC loves to set things up, so you expect one thing, and something else is the reality, so we'll see. Hi guys, just a reminder to please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks! Now we meet Laura, who's 47 and a teacher from Vancouver, Washington. When we're first introduced to her, she's talking to an AI voice on her computer and asking if she should go line dancing. The AI tells her line dancing is a blast, but I'm 99% sure the AI voice is just a producer talking. In her interview, she says she saw something on social media that said stop driving your friends crazy and use AI, so she uses it every day for writing emails or asking questions. She asks it if Turkish men are well endowed. The AI refuses to answer, and she says sometimes it's prudish, but she's not. She says one of her favorite hobbies is reading smutty romance novels, and that she's even dabbled in writing them. She pulls up one from her phone and reads some of it, but says so far none of her relationships have had that happy ending. She was married when she was 21, but says it didn't work out. She's dated nice guys over the years, and even got engaged once, but says there was always something missing. She says most guys haven't been interested in what she likes until she met Michael. She met him in a park playing pickleball, and she says they instantly clicked and realized how much they had in common. She arrives at a court to play pickleball with Michael and some friends. She tells them she won't be able to play again for a while because she's going to Turkey in a week, since she met someone online. They express surprise that she's not dating Michael, who jokingly calls her a harlot. She says everyone who sees them thinks they're dating or married, but he's just a great friend. 6 months ago, she met Birkan on Snapchat. She says he has a bad boy aesthetic and looks like a character from a romance novel. She tells her friends he's only 26, and of course they're shocked. She says he doesn't come across as that age and is very masculine, and more of a manly man than anyone she's dated in the US, and they show Michael looking a little annoyed. In Michael's interview, he says he and Laura are best friends and pretty much like partners, and people always assume they're together, but when they met, she was engaged, so he didn't consider anything. He's worried Birkan will get in the way of their relationship. In her interview, Laura says she's leaving for Turkey in 2 days. She says she and Michael have spent time perfecting a recipe for protein bars, and that health and fitness are very important to her. She explains that during the pandemic she gained weight, and has since lost about 140 pounds. She says even though Birkan assures her he loves her as she is, she still has insecurities about her weight. She tells Michael she's excited to take the protein bars to Turkey. He says speaking of that, she hasn't said anything about him coming along, and she admits she's on the fence about that, and they can play it by ear. In her confessional, she says when they first started talking about Turkey, she asked Michael to come with her because they do everything together, but lately she's been rethinking that. She says Birkan doesn't like that she has a male friend she spends so much time with. She doesn't want to be in a controlling relationship, but says she can't blame him because she and Michael are much closer than a normal friendship, so she can kind of understand. He tells her he knows Birkan doesn't like him, but if she wants him in her life, it would be good if they could meet. He says if Birkan feels like he's a problem, how much will he want her to pull away? She says their relationship has an expiration date, and it's funny she uses the phrase expiration date, just like Matt and Jasmine. She says she's told him when either of them meets someone, they won't be able to continue their close friendship as it is. She says their relationship is like a partnership, except for the physical part, and she's not sure where he wants to go. In her confessional, she says at one point she developed feelings for Michael, but he would mention wanting to find a partner, so she took the hint and kept him as a best friend instead. But she's noticed his dynamic with her has changed since she started with Zaid. He started touching her hand, and he took her on what felt like a date, so she's starting to think he has feelings for her, but he refuses to acknowledge it. She says he wants her time and attention, like she was his girlfriend, but it seems like he's scared to go all in, because he doesn't want to get hurt. He asks what she wants, and she says she wants a man who will make her a priority. He says that's what she deserves, and he starts to cry. He says growing up with a birth defect has been hard, and he's learned to reject people before they reject him, although he doesn't specify what his birth defect is. She says she thinks his past traumas have created a self-fulfilling prophecy, where he's scared to let people get close. She was trying to give him a chance to say how he feels, and says he almost did, but that he'll probably never be able to say it. Part of her wonders if she's choosing the wrong guy, but says she deserves to be fully loved. She just hopes she doesn't have to lose her relationship with Michael, and if it came down to a choice, she's not sure what she would do. I like Michael, but she's right that he's not able to commit, so he's leaving her in limbo. Still, it's unfortunate if he's held back by his past traumas like she said. To me, Birkan looks like a player from his pictures, and with his being over 20 years younger than her, I'm not especially hopeful for them as a couple. But we'll see how it goes when we meet him. Anyway, that's it for this video. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for watching.